Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we continue the Gita class in Srila Prabhupada's quarter, chapter 3, text 8, continuation. Nityatam kuru kamatvam kama yoyoha akama striya yatyapi chati na prisya akama. Translation. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without working. Purport. There are many pseudo-mediators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to high parentage, and great professional men who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duty as set forth for Kshatriya. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duty as prescribed for the householder, Kshatriya. Such activity gradually cleans the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scriptures. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul together by some work. Work should not be given up conspicuously without purification of materialistic propensity. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or, in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensity have to be cleared. Without doing so, through prescribed duty, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renouncing work and living at the cost of others. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shlakaya Chakshu Omilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutane Srimante Bhakti-Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Nivisisha Sunyavadi Praskatya iti namine. Hare Krishna. So I'm very, very fascinated to speak once again on this particular text, which is a very sweet one. Krishna is like embellishing what he have established within that chapter 3, telling Arjuna that you have to work. Through work, you develop self-realization, which is an interesting path. And he gave, a very amazing, emphasis that the indirect path is not being recognized, but the direct path, it will enhance one to develop the self, and through that developing the self, one will understand his higher self. You understand the relationship of the higher self. So this particular time, Krishna is like embellishing it. The reason why you should not give up your work, you should not give up your prescribed duty. And what is our prescribed duties? In ISKCON, we have a prescribed duty. Our first cardinal prescribed duty is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Very sweet. So, hearing, remembering, these are all prescribed duty for for ISKCON. So this particular text in the field of philosophy is called existentialism. Existentialism means that you give meaning to your life. Give meaning to life. So how can we give meaning to life if we don't know, the process to give meaning to life? Bhakti-yoga Swami, in one of his leadership, literature, he said, if you enter any organization, the first thing you should ask, what is the process? So when you have derived the answer for that word, then you ask, where are the practitioners? So when you have derived the answer for that, then you further the question, who are those who have achieved the goal? So this is a systematic, inquiry. We see Srila Prabhupada, not just by saying, he practiced what he says, and we see he have achieved the goal. So here the same thing Krishna is applying. He's telling Arjuna, you don't need to give up your work. You can do this work accordingly, and you still achieve the goal. So through prescribed duty, gradually we get purification. And from that purification, spiritual realization develops. Without purification, how can spiritual realization develop? This reminds me of yesterday. Yesterday I have a group of students, some MBA first year, second year, like that. Yesterday was MBA first year, some management science, different field of endeavor. Some are from Delhi, Mathura, West Africa, like that, in one group. So we are discussing. After the discussion, there was a question. So one of the questions that was raised by the student is that, can there be realization without the four regulative principles? So the question that this particular student raised, it appears that it was a fascinating question, because as soon as he raised that question, other students begin to click like means that they are in support of that question. So I respond to the question in this way. I said, yeah, your question is very nice, but why do you take exam? Why do you do projects? Why do you do assignments, so on and so forth in the school? So it says for competency. Yeah, so that is exam, assignment, whatever the school has assigned for the student, they have to do it, for them to achieve a particular aim. What is that aim? Get a certificate, and that certificate, quantify them, in a way that people will appreciate them as having that potence in whatever field they are coming out from, to show their competency. I said the same applies to spiritual, path. The four regulative principles, they help to modify us. They help to purify us. At least one conflict I was having with my mother, my parents, was this aspect. these four regulative principles. I was actually so much inquisitive, search for information, vital, higher information, because I see all about the Western philosophy, the Greek philosophers. There is no substantial thing to give. Because like I mentioned before, this particular concept is referred in the Western philosophy as existentialism. One of the prominent existentialist philosophers was James Paul Sartre. James Paul Sartre emphasized this particular concept, giving meaning to life. But the point we raise, how can you give meaning to life when you don't know what you are supposed, when you don't know the process to give meaning to life? I don't know how many of you know, you've been to Goshala before? ISKCON Goshala? Eh? Okay, if you are entering ISKCON Goshala through the gates leading through the MBT, there is a house before that. There is a house before the gates. Initially, the first time I come to India, when I see the house, I could not recognize if it was house, because I could not figure out the entrance, because everything was so close in. So after some period of time, what is it, last year or something, there was some meaning that was given to the house. The sculpture of the house was actually changed. So the house become a little bit attractive. So because the man who owns the house, I has a good relationship with him. So I was asking, what happened? How do you transform this house like this? He said, well, my daughter is an architect, and with the help of somebody else, I was able to transform this house. So this is giving meaning. Giving meaning, you only transform the body. This is the concept of existentialism, transforming the body. We know that the body will always remain here, but the inner, the soul, what is the measure in transforming this? What is the measure in realizing this? This is elusive to the existentialist concept. So the point here is very, very sweet, because Srila Prabhupada bring it close to our doorstep. What we need to do if we really want to achieve the path of spiritual life, and what is that that goal we should achieve. That is the process that the Acharya have established. We chant, we hear, we dance before the Lord, we take prasad. This is prescribed duty. And if this duty is actually well handled, appreciated, well followed, automatically we come to the platform of spiritual realization. Because Arjuna is thinking that by fighting with, by fighting with his kinsmen and so on and so forth, is against religion's principle. Therefore, he was thinking that instead of me, fighting, why don't I just leave? So Krishna said, no. As a Kshatriya, you have to do your duty. And the duty of a Kshatriya is to fight. So this is the emphasis. And because Krishna in the previous chapter, he have emphasized two paths. What are these two paths? The path of analytic study and the path of duty, working for him. Working for him, it emphasized that is actually the best, because through that process we get purification. And if we go more deeper to this particular context, we see that Krishna is gradually establishing those three principles. What are they? The first one is Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya, and Prayojana. The first step here is Sambandha. Understanding yourself through work, understanding, the relationship with the higher self. Very sweet. So one may ask, this process Krishna is establishing is very, it looks simple. But why is it that many people, they are not, still, yet realizing themselves? Many people still lack the sense of duty. No, this is mine, this is yours. This is my limit. No, I will do this, I won't do that. Why? All these differences. Why? Because those who are actually on the level of who are on the level of self-realization, who actually have realized themselves, they don't see difference. There is no distinction between mine and yours. But we still have this distinction. Why? So in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, he mentioned pretender, just like we see in chapter, still this same chapter, but text 3. He said one who, he mentioned, let me just read it out. What is it? Okay. Here Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. So in chapter 3, still this same chapter, but text 6, mentioned that one who tried to avoid the object of the senses, but his mind still dwells on it, is a pretender. So, but what is this object of the senses that bewilders everyone, that deprives everyone from the path of spiritual life? We want to try to analyze this object of the senses according to Garuda Purana, which also reflects in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, the conversation between King Yadu and the Avaduta Brahmana. This is an interesting path. It was emphasized there that there are 5 respective senses that attracts everyone, that deviate one from the spiritual path. And these 5 senses, they have different, it was canonized to different, living entity. For instance, he mentioned the butterfly. The butterfly, just by seeing, just by the attraction of form, he gets destroyed. Then he mentions that the being, by smell, by fragrance, when he is inside the rose, because of the fragrance, he gets lost there. Then the rose cover, then it's off. He gets destroyed. The elephant, by touch. Touch. If those expert men want to catch the main elephant, they use the shield elephants, and by trying to touch, they get hold of him. Then the fish, taste. Just a little bit of pieces of meat. The fish gets hooked up in a fisherman's hook. Then the 5th one, which is the deer. The deer by hearing. What is that hearing? Sound, music of the hunters. So by hearing the music of the hunter, he gets captured. So these 5 senses, it has a lot of, it has a lot of impact in our spiritual life. How it deviates everyone from the spiritual path is being emphasized here. First of all, the eyes, if it's not used for Krishna, if it's not used frequently for seeing the beauty of Krishna, it can create obstacles. The hearing, if it's not regularly, hearing the katha of Krishna, it can become, an instrument of mundane thing. The tongue, if it's not being used for Krishna's prasad, it can, attract different. These are all contamination. and the touch. Only Mahamantra. So these different aspects of senses should be used for the service of Krishna. And once these senses are being used for the service of Krishna, there is purification. And this purification enhances us, to be fixed in spiritual life. So in this particular text, Krishna is emphasizing that perform your prescribed duty. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Yes, we have to work. But whom do we work for? We have to chant. But whom do we chant for? So this is the point. Work for Krishna. So this was the point Krishna is emphasizing for Arjuna. You don't need to do it. If you want to take the glory, then you incur some karma. But if you do it for me, you'll be free from the reaction. So work done for Krishna, free ones from all reactions. Any work done for Krishna, free ones from all reaction. But work done for our selfish and interest creates, reactions. So, but this part Krishna is emphasizing is actually what we are practicing. The path of work, the path of duty. Do your seva, do your sadhana, just do all for the pleasure of Krishna. So, some, like the purpose, La Prabhupada mentioned in the purpose, that there are many pseudo mediators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to parentage and great professional men who firstly pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender, because a pretender, there is no reward in being pretense, or there is no reward in pretending. You better do your duty, which will give you purification, than not doing your duty at all. So if we do our duty for the pleasure of Krishna, that gives a lot of purification. This is the emphasis we are seeing. And beyond that, Arjuna, as a religious Kshatriya, it is encouraged to do his duty. So duty is always duty. But the absolute duty is the duty we do for the pleasure of Krishna. That which we do for the pleasure of Krishna gives us a lot of purification. And that also enhances us for spiritual realization. Because this is a gradual step. A gradual step that enhances us to the path that we have chosen and be more fixed in that path. So I have few things, so one may ask, how do we avoid, those things that will derive us from this duty? How do we, avoid those things that will prevent us from duty that will enhance our spiritual growth? Bhagavad-Gita mentioned or give a principle. This principle is very unique. And what is that principle? Gita mentioned like a tortoise. When a tortoise, feels some certain inauspicious sign, he withdraws his limb back. So sometimes this principle is all meant for our benefit. So there are some certain things we should avoid hearing. Those things, once it comes to us, we draw our ear back. The eyes, we withdraw the eyes back from it. The tongue, the same. We withdraw from those things that will, chunkle or relegate our spiritual life. So this principle of withdrawal, like the tortoise withdraw its lamb, is a very unique principle that if we apply in every situation, especially those critical situations that would have chunkled or that would have, enhanced us to, have some differences in times of, spiritual pursuits, we withdraw, then we have more understanding. For instance, let me give an example to this. When this Dhritarashtra called Sanjaya about the procedures, so Sanjaya was telling this Dhritarashtra, now you are looking at the race of Kaurava. Look, it's going to end. We have been encouraging you, we have been emphasizing. Do away with this son of yours, Duryodhana. Do away with this son of yours, Duryodhana. Now is the time. Now the time has come. And this Kaurava race will end. Duryodhana was just coming when he heard Sanjaya emphasizing on this. The first word he said, who asked these, maid servants to come to this place? This maid servant who is ungrateful, who we raised, the people have raised him, he's not against them. So he asked 6 men to toss him out of the palace. Not only that, flog him to the last of his breath. But some section of Acharya comment that actually Duryodhana means he commanded that Sanjaya should be caned. But when the military men came out to do that service, Sanjaya was in a different form in the sense that he was in a visible form that they could not find him. So, but there is something Sanjaya learned. He could see how Krishna's Maya is working. And he also appreciates that with the virtue of Krishna's mercy, he could see how he was free. With the virtue of Paraha, he could see how he was free from the situation. So he was very free, he was very happy. So this is spiritual realization. And this spiritual realization comes as our dedication for the pleasure of Krishna. So if there is dedication only for the pleasure of Krishna, realization comes. So the same thing, we see in this particular verse, how one can apply himself, for the service of Krishna, and gradually he progresses on the path of spiritual life. So Krishna is advising Arjuna, you don't need to give up your tax, you don't need to give up your mantras, you don't need to give up your worship, your duty, but let it be done for the sake of my pleasure. So if all service, all attention are for Krishna's pleasure, we have more strength. We have more strength, to practice spiritual life. But the problem is that because of the competitive spirit, we want to be like Krishna. This service is always haphazardly done. Interest. Me first, not you. Forgetting Krishna. But when Krishna is the first, then we see how fast we grow in spiritual life. So this is a very unique chapter, because it's unique in the sense that Parishit was asking that what is the use of atonement? If after doing atonement, then one still have to go back to the same activities again, just like the Christians, Catholics. Every Saturday, whatever, they go to the priest and confess. Oh, Father, I have done this. Oh, Father, I have done this. After the confessing is over, they go back to their old life. What is the use of such atonements? So, but on the part of bhakti, on the part of service to Krishna, this is not required. Because on the part of bhakti, it's on the part of purification. Let all your endeavor, let all your activities be that which pleases Krishna. Then from there, you get more strength, more realization on how to do more, to do more, to do more. Because realize purity is actually the force. When there is purity, we have more realization about the self. So Krishna is taking this particular text, he's taking it systematically, giving it to Arjuna systematically. Now he's emphasizing on duty. After this chapter, we see like a little turning around for the pleasure of Arjuna, for Arjuna to come to the level where he will understand that yes, only one duty is paramount. And what is that duty? Service to Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the bottom of it, the Lord desired Arjuna perform the prescribed duty as set forth the Kshatriya. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duty as prescribed for a householder. So without doing so, through prescribed duty, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renounce work, and this we have experience of. Without proper background, just like somebody who don't know how to swim. Somebody who doesn't know how to swim, if you jump into the stream, what happens? You get drowned. So there have to be some experience of swimming. So that experience of swimming here is the service, is the duty that Krishna is talking about. First of all, understand whom duty is made for. Then every other aspect of life will follow. So in conclusion, Krishna is emphasizing here that Arjuna should not, Arjuna should not give up his duty. And of course, we cannot maintain this body without duty. But our duty has to be channeled towards Krishna. And when that duty is channeled towards Krishna, then we have more strength to practice spiritual life. And we have more strength, to maintain this body. Hare Krishna. So any comments? Yes, some long time there. Some comments? Thank you.
Are there different kinds of duties?
Pardon?
Are there different kinds of duties?
Yes.
How do you differentiate?
Pardon? Say that.
How do you differentiate?
Very good. Yeah, there are different kinds of duty. Thank you. We have the duty for the senses. Okay? That is for my satisfaction. That is one duty. And we have the duty also for the pleasure of Krishna. Just like if we go through the Vani ashram, ashrama, we have the brahmachari, the sannyasi, the grihastha, and the vanaprastha. They'll have their own duties. Then we go to the sushu. We have the brahmana, kshashaya, vaishya, and sudra. They'll have their own duty. And Krishna systematically designed these for the progress of society and for the progress of the ashrama. So these different duty, if there is no personal interest, it's only for the interest of Krishna, it enhances us for a beneficial path. It enhances us, for spiritual growth. There may be many duties, but one underlying factor is that whatever duty that is affiliated to us should be channeled, should be used, or should be channeled towards that achieving Krishna service.
We can differentiate between the duties prescribed by the spiritual master and those prescribed by the Vedas.
Okay. Okay, how we can differentiate the duties prescribed by the Vedas and the duty prescribed by the spiritual master. The duty prescribed by the Vedas and the duty prescribed by the spiritual masters, they are in accordance. Because the spiritual master cannot speak something different from the Shastra.
One's a transcendental process and the other one's material.
Pardon?
One is transcendental and the other is material.
Yeah, we can say one is transcendental, one is material, but they are all meant to take us systematically. Just like we have the Vani aspect and we have the Vapul aspect. The Vani and the Vapul aspects. So they are all meant to gradually enhance us towards the path of spiritual life, or becoming fixed on the path of spiritual life. Any more addiction? Any more addition? Or you have some comment on it? Any comment, Prabhu? So it's a very interesting emphasis we've been getting here. Very sweet one. Krishna is encouraging everyone, not to give up duty, to perform our prescribed duty. This body have to be maintained by work. And one of those tools that we devotees of ISKCON, one of the duty we mention is that we chant, we hear, we dance before the deity, then we take prasad. So quite different from those outside there. They perform their duty just for their own benefit, for the senses, and this all attracts a lot of reactions. So the devotees are free, because whatever they do, they are giving to Krishna as an offering. And this is what Krishna actually desires. Do everything as an offering to me. Any question, Baba?
When was that? When we are doing everything for Krishna.
Very good.
But still sometimes the disturbance is coming in the mind.
Good.
By doing something for Krishna.
Yeah.
But the mind is still dragging
Good.
somewhere else.
Good.
So why is this happening like that?
Very good. Our Prabhuji is asking that we have this psyche. We have this kind of, one straighted convention that we're doing this thing for Krishna. But sometimes we see that there is still deviation. There is still deviation. That deviation is part of, sometimes ineffective hearing. You don't hear it sufficiently, and sometimes, our previous narrators, our previous karma influencing. Just like, in the very beginning, in aspect of West Africa, many devotees who join this movement, they give up all what they need to give up materially. But after some time, the previous narrator begin to surface. And those things they have given up, they begin to fight over it again. So somebody will ask, why? Because of one, insufficient hearing, which we mentioned before, the five senses, the ears, the text, the smell, the sight, the touch. If they are not used, properly in the service of Krishna, they deviate us from that path. They deviate us from the paths. So because the sight, once it sees something, there is always attraction. Just like we hear from, our Gita, that when while meditating on object of the senses, one develop attachment from there. From attachment, lost. From lost, memory is bewildered. From memory, bewildered, then intelligent. Description. No, intelligence helps us to make distinction. So what is that distinction? Scriptural distinction. Once intelligence is also destroyed, then we get lost. We cannot make accurate distinction. So this actually is a result of one, our previous, and the association we also maintain. Previous is there, and the association we maintain.
Because of this modes of nature, we are going to modes of nature, something they are forcing us.
Pardon?
The modes of nature, something they are forcing us. Even though if I don't want to think about something, that it comes in the mind.
Yeah.
Is due to modes of nature or our previous experience?
Yeah, Arjuna also said that in Bhagavad-Gita. That sometimes there are some certain things I don't want to do, but those things sometimes appear. I see myself doing it. What is the cause of those things? Krishna said it's lost. It burns like fire, and he begin to give analogy, just like embryo. So the same applies to the lost. The lost is hidden within. So it tells Arjuna, at the very beginning, crop this lost. And our method in cropping this heart, which the Acharya have established, is chanting, hearing, remembering, associating, dancing, and taking prasad. If this path is actually following as it is, automatically this aspect of disturbance will go away. Okay. Any more addition, Prabhu? Some addition. Okay.
Well, no, I was looking for a purport where Prabhupada says
Okay.
the conditions under which you can do something that you wouldn't normally do.
Pardon? Maybe I saw.
And reading the purport where Prabhupada says under these conditions you can normally do what you would not normally do.
Okay.
And you would not do what you would normally do.
Okay.
I can't find it. That's
Yeah, that may be there.
just important.
Yeah, just like that may be there. I was asking yesterday. Was it yesterday or the first day? You know, Rupa Goswami is giving some definition about how we do the mantra, personal mantra should be a little bit silent. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying one of the purpose in the passing away of Haridas Thakur, that one should chant loudly, that one hear himself. One chant loudly and hear himself. So I thought to myself, how do we balance this? Rupa Goswami is saying that he giving different definition of types of mantra, how we chant, kirtan, japa. He giving definition. So how do we balance this? You chant loudly in the way that you hear yourself. But if we look at it in a more holistic way, we see that it's the same thing, or in a different tone. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Go Premanande.